Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version, a podcast dedicated to hearing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. I am your host, Brene Victoria, and if you are new to this podcast, make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and share. Today, we have an amazing guest speaker with us, Christine. Christine is a mother, certified EFT coach, life coach, and cancer thriver. She is the owner and operator of School for Joy. Christine was once an over-emotional, unconfident woman with tons of self-doubt. Through the years, Christine has completely changed her outlook on life and her view about herself. Listen in as she explains the changes she has made over the years and what kind of joy it has created for her life. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here today.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm definitely doing well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to hang out with us and tell us some of the nuggets of goodies that I'm actually really excited about today.
Good. I hope I'm like, it's such a sell there. I'm like, man, I hope I can live up to that.
Please. It's funny how it hits us, right? When you hear somebody else reading it, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
am I really all of those things?
Right.
But you are all of those things. And I appreciate you being here. So how's life? What's going on with you?
Oh, life is good. I am, enjoying the I'm sorry, I'm not speaking. I haven't had caffeine this morning, so that may be part of the problem.
I totally
get it. I am enjoying the last days of summer. My kids go back to school in early September, and I'm on the East Coast, so we're like the last, I think, in the area of the United States to go back to school. So after Labor Day. And
no kidding. Why so late?
I don't know. It's always been that way.
Wow.
So,
yeah, I have a 17-year-old senior, and he started school on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, I think my daughters go back. I think Labor Day is the 7th, and they go back like the 9th or something.
Wow, that's so interesting. I've never heard. I mean, probably, but that's interesting. Well, cool. How old are your children?
I have an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Very nice. Very nice. So similar. So you have a senior also?
She's starting college.
Oh, nice. Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, listen, we have so much to talk about today, and I kind of want to get in. One of the things that I like to do before we actually get into all the goodies is I love for our female audience to kind of hear the background of the individual that I'm speaking to, just so that, a lot of times that's a good way to relate. It's a good way to build rapport. So if you don't mind, I'd love to hear kind of like your early years, before you got married, and, who you were and all that good stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I would say, and I think that's really important, because sometimes we have these images of people, like we look at other people and we think, oh, they had it, like they don't struggle with anything because they had everything so easy. And like if you looked at my life growing up, you might think that, because I had like the stereotypical perfect family on the outside. Everything looked good, and I thought everything was fine. I thought I had the perfect family. But growing up, I always had this sense of like unrest, or like saw myself as really sensitive and emotional, and my family saw me that way, not in a bad way. I didn't ever feel like I was labeled, but like in a negative way, but I took it that way. Like I saw myself as sort of like the emotional weak link. And so I didn't really trust my feelings. And what I came to find out was that there was actually my parents weren't very happy together, and they were, like of the school that you stay together for the sake of the children. And so there were lots of undercurrents of unhappiness and tension that I was picking up on, but didn't realize. And so I thought, like, God, what is wrong with me? Like, I have everything I could possibly want. Like, it must be me. And so I think, like, what that taught me, and I am like an intuitive person and I am a sensitive person, but what it taught me was to not trust my feelings. And so that got me into trouble later on in life. And so I saw myself. And so one of the things that I learned to do, just to say, like, I love my parents. They were doing the best they could. Like, there's no blame there.
Yeah,
It's
of
just,
course.
there
Thank
was
you.
for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
There was anger and all of that, but I have definitely worked through that. And so one of the ways that I was the oldest child, the only girl, so like the stereotypical straight arrow, overachiever, stay quiet, don't rock the boat. I think on some level I thought, like, there's something I could be I'm doing something to cause this, or like, if I'm just like perfect, then everything will be okay. And so I stayed really quiet. So I saw myself as, like, not particularly interesting, kind of a wallflower. Um, and yeah, that was just my self-image for a really long time. And it definitely impacted the choices that I made. I mean, at the same time, I did well academically. I went to college. I went to graduate school. I, seemingly was successful, but I definitely struggled with self-esteem and self-confidence and really believing that I was capable, and lovable. I think I didn't see myself as special in any way. And I think I also, um, um, like, I realized this as I was thinking about this interview. I had this sort of, like, thought that someone was going to come along and rescue me. And even though I did a lot of work, like, even as a kid, like, once I found out that I had, like, there was stuff going on with my parents, and they were kind of like, we're not going to be talking about this outside of the house. And I was like, oh, the hell we're not, like, no, I'm not doing that. So, like, I did have those moments.
Yeah.
But and I did, like, go to therapy, and I, did all that stuff, but I didn't I was only willing to go to a certain point. Like, I was afraid of what was underneath, and it wasn't conscious, but I realized later on that I wasn't really willing to do the work because the feelings that I had really scared me, and there was a lot of shame and fear. And again, going back to that, well, if anyone found out about this, like, they would think I was crazy or unlovable, or so definitely there was a lot of that too. And so there was this feeling of, I'm going to meet, and honestly, and it's sort of embarrassing really, but, like, I'm going to meet the right guy and it's all going to be okay. And because I didn't feel like in high school, I sort of felt like not the ugly duckling, but like the best friend. Like, I was, everyone wanted to date my friends, and I was like the girl that, you could hang out with because I was the nice girl and whatever. And so I didn't date all that much. And so my mom always used to say, oh, the nice girls always find the nice men. And so I think I, like, thought I didn't have to do anything, like, it was just going to happen for me. And yeah. And so I met my husband, and there were lots of red flags from the beginning, but I didn't see them because I didn't want to.
So when did you get married?
I got married late. I met my ex-husband, when I was 26, but we didn't get married till I was 32.
Got it.
I was afraid to get married, honestly.
You were afraid?
I was afraid, yeah. Like, I wanted it, but I was terrified of it, just because of everything that, I'd been through with my own family.
100%. Wow, that's so interesting. Never would have thought that. So the whole thought process, as far as, getting married and having somebody save you, that's actually a thought that a lot of women have.
Yeah.
So I
Absolutely.
found out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's, like, so pervasive in our culture, and I think it's become more unconscious now because, we're more aware, we're more feminist in our views, but it's still like that, I think there's a book like The Cinderella Complex or something like that, and we do feel like someone's gonna come and rescue us, and
Yes.
it's a really scary proposition, I think, like,
Yeah.
you should never give away your power.
Yeah. 100%. So, you got married early 30s.
Mhm.
So how did that whole journey I
Not
know that's the turning point.
that's such yeah, so we were together for, 5 years before we got married, and there were, there as I said, there were lots of red flags. It was definitely a very tumultuous relationship. We had our highs, but we had a lot of lows, and I think we both wanted to be married and to be happy. But I think we really had no idea what the hell we were doing.
Mm.
And we each had our baggage. And so it was a struggle. It was really a struggle a lot of the time. And I knew on some level, like that's the thing because again, I didn't trust my feelings. So I denied a lot, and even when I didn't deny, like I was in therapy, and so I was acknowledging things, but I was also lying to myself. I was lying to my therapist, like,
Wow.
not because I thought I was supposed to want things in my marriage. Like I thought I was supposed to want to, you know, cook for my husband. I hate cooking. I hate it. I don't want to do it. And he was giving me an out. It was important to him, but he was also like, but if you can't do it, like, that's okay. We'll work it through. And I was like, no, 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 I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. No, I wasn't fine with it.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. But I thought that that's what I was supposed to do. Like, that was what a good wife did. And if I could do that, then maybe everything would be okay. Like, I was so constrained by the what should be. And I've heard Glennon Doyle has talks about that a lot, how like we cause ourselves so much stress and drama because of the picture we have in our head of what it's supposed to be, and our reality is different, and we're so busy trying to make our reality into that picture instead of just saying, hey, this is my reality, like this is working for me, or like I need to like accept it and embrace it. And
Yeah.
so I did not do that at all.
Wow, no kidding. That's an that's that right there. It's so small. Um, but I could see how that could leak into other areas easily. That whole thought process
Yeah.
there. That's very
And
interesting.
I think that women in general, I mean, certainly like the more I talk to women, we there's I'm not going to say every woman, because hopefully there are some women that have worked through this, but we all have these ideas, but they're so ingrained in us as to like
Mm.
what we're supposed to do, and we're supposed to take care of everyone else and make ourselves smaller, and put everyone else's feelings ahead of our own. And so I think that that's really damaging, and so often we don't even know that we're doing it. And so that was what I did throughout most of my marriage, even when I knew. And there would be times I would say, like, and he and I were both, neither one of us was happy. And we talked about it sometimes, but usually what would happen would be like one of us was in an okay place and the other one was unhappy. And so the person in the okay place would try to talk the other one out of it, because we were both afraid, like, we didn't, neither one of us wanted to like deal with the possibility of a failed marriage. We just like that thought that that was just a terrible thing. And
Right.
so we went back and forth, and I knew, and then when I had my children, I started to worry that I wasn't like modeling for them. I wasn't being the best parent I could be because I was carrying so much emotional baggage because I was really
Wow.
unhappy.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a really, like, there were a lot of beautiful moments, but it was overall it was a tough time.
100%, 100%. This reminds me of an argument that I still think about sometimes with my son's father, where he worked crazy hours because we were trying to make ends meet. Um, And I remember one day, like I vividly remember this. He came home. I was having like a total meltdown, crying fest, new baby, probably dealing with postpartum, but didn't really know what that was. And I was freaking out because I was so tired and the kitchen was a mess. And I was like, I just can't do this. I just can't do all the things. I can't go to work and take care of the baby and get the baby and do this and clean and do. And he goes, who told you that you have to clean the kitchen? And it didn't occur to me that like he never put that expectation on me. I actually had that expectation for myself, and it was literally causing me to have like a straight up, like, not panic attack, it wasn't that bad, but just like a total breakdown as a new mother. And I argued with him because I felt like he was lying, like he really did, but he was just like trying to be nice. So it like turned in. But now that I'm older, you know, and listening to you, that's exactly what we do. That's exactly what we do.
Yeah. And like you were lucky and I was lucky because my husband was the same way. He didn't have a lot of those expectations or open to conversation. There are a lot of women that are married to people that are like, yeah, absolutely. The kitchen's a mess. I can't believe I'm coming home to this.
Yeah, 100%. Good point. 100%. So I know that, you know, as your marriage kind of went along its journey, that's kind of when you started to kind of dip your toes into personal development and, you know, some of the training that you have. Can you kind of lead us through, you know, what it is you do and why you decided to look into that? Because I think there's a lot of women that are in that point right now, but they don't even know where to turn. They don't know what to do.
Well, let me just move my camera here. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, so I had always sort of been interested in personal development, but again, it was that like I was only willing to go to a certain level. So I read the books, I went to therapy, I did all the things you're supposed to do. And I'm just looking at the
do you want to read it out loud?
Yeah. I grew up never really knowing what a good wife was supposed to be. My mother was an alcoholic and my father's a narcissist. I had a 5-year violent and failed marriage, have been in therapy for the past 4 years myself to heal from all the trauma. Yeah. Wow. That is a lot. And I totally agree with you that it's really hard when you don't have a good role model. I really didn't either. I didn't have nobody that I knew really well who had like a great relationship that I could model myself after. And it's really hard to try to figure that out on your own. But good for you for being in therapy and working on the trauma, because that is just so important. So like, just pat yourself on the back because that's awesome. So awesome.
100%. 100%.
I forget.
We were talking about the kind of the journey of the
journey, right? So
end of your marriage and personal development.
I was always interested in personal growth and development, but again, like kind of just got to a certain point and never really had like the guts. If I like read about something in a book, you know, I never had the guts to talk to my husband about it. Or, well, he's a litigator. So he argues for a living. So guess how many arguments I won? Not a lot. And he could just, and like, honestly, I don't think it was malintent, but he could just argue. Like by the end, I was like, wait, what? Like I had no idea what I had even started out saying.
Yeah.
And so, but what happened was, so we got to a point and he was the one that was finally like, all right, this is not working for me. I don't think I can do this anymore. And so, but it was sort of like, but let's give it one last try. So we started going to couples therapy, but at that point, like when we had that conversation, I kind of hit the wall and realized like, wow, I don't know what's going to happen with my marriage, but I have got to figure this out for myself because I do not like who I am right now. I've lost the best parts of myself. This is not who I want to be. Mm-hmm. So that was my rock bottom, I think. And that was what really pushed me to, to start doing the work. And again, going back to that, like, I thought someone was going to rescue me. I think it was also like, I thought, well, if I sit on the therapist couch and I say the right things, like, it's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I realized, no, I actually really have to do the work. Like, I have to feel these feelings that I don't want to feel. I have to admit things to myself that I don't want to admit, but
Mhm.
I have to. There's no other way.
Yeah.
And so that was my turning point. So that was like a year before my marriage ended, and in that year we were going to couples therapy, and I was starting my personal journey. And so I, of course, was looking for what I could do. And somebody that I followed, a coach that I followed, mentioned this thing called the Tapping Solution World Summit, and I had no idea what it was. But I trusted her, and I was like, okay, whatever, I'll try it. And it was free, so that was good. Free
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah.
um, and so the Tapping Solution is an amazing organization, and they're dedicated to educating people about EFT, which is sometimes called tapping. And we'll talk more specifically about that a little bit later. But so they run this 10-day summit every year in February or March. And it was audio, it's now video. But they release 2 interviews each day, and you have access to them for 24 hours. And they're with tapping practitioners about how they use tapping with their clients around different issues, like whether it's money issues or pain or, emotional stuff. There, it can be used in so many different ways. And so I started listening to it. And the first thing I noticed within like a day or two was that I started sleeping through the night. And I
Wow.
had been dealing with major insomnia because of all the stress. And so I thought, okay, I don't care if it does anything else. If it helps me sleep through the night, then that's going to help me deal with everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then what I started to notice was more subtle shifts in, like my husband and I would be having a conversation, and I would say something he didn't agree with, and instead of backing down, I kind of just held my own. I was like, nope, no, this is really what I think. And so it started to snowball in a really positive way. And so that was one thing. And then the second thing that I found was Brene Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection, which I highly recommend to everybody, because that really changed my life too. And basically, in a nutshell, she is a shame and vulnerability researcher. If you don't know her work, you may know her work because she's just kind of exploded since around the time I found her, so the last like 10 years or so.
Mhm.
She's got a bunch of TED Talks. If you Google
Wow.
Brene Brown TED Talk, you'll find them. She's amazing. But this book so what she found in her research was that there were basically 2 different kinds of people, like the average person, and then what she called wholehearted people, who like were in you know, all into life, and like were wholehearted and loving and just embraced everything. And so when she dug down into the research, she found 10 life practices that they all had in common. And so she breaks
Wow.
it down for the rest of us. And so it's just, basically like embracing vulnerability, creativity, gratitude, um, you know, letting go of this idea that we always have to be working. Um, yeah, it's an amazing, amazing book. So I would highly recommend it.
No kidding.
And those 2 things together were really what, like, they got me through.
Very awesome. Very awesome. What kind of First of all, did you share this with your husband at the time, or
That's a really great question. And the answer to that is no, I did not.
okay, why?
Um, I mean, maybe I did in some small way, but
Mhm.
not like wow, I really have to tell you about these two things that I'm doing because it totally has changed my life. No, I did not.
Got it. Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And then,
No one ever asked me that, and I never had thought about that before. But
yeah. And then, okay, so what, with the new knowledge that you had towards, the end of your marriage, could you have seen it kind of helping, or was it just an added thing to help you with your personal development and you as a person? Did it kind of help you see that the marriage wasn't working? Because sometimes that happens.
that's
Or,
what
oh,
happened.
wow.
It helped me see that the marriage wasn't working,
Wow.
that I was stronger than I thought. Because I think a big reason that I stayed in my marriage, and I think this is true for so many people, is I was terrified of leaving because I didn't think I was strong enough to handle it.
Yeah.
I like I was a teacher, and then when my children were born, I stayed home for 5 or 6 years, and then I went back into the classroom for 3 years, and I found that it was changing. Like when I was in the classroom, the movement toward the insanity that we have right now was in full force. And God bless any teachers that are out there. You have the hardest job in the world. And so when I came back 5 years later, it was just the stress and the pressure was so incredible. And I felt like I couldn't be the teacher I wanted to be and the mother that I wanted to be at the same time. So I left the classroom. And so at the time that my marriage was falling apart, I had just started working part-time. And honestly, like I had resisted going back to work for years because I didn't think I could handle it and be a mother. And then I kind of found out like, no, I couldn't. And so I was terrified that if I left my marriage, I was going to be a full-time working single mother, and I was going to be exhausted all the time, and I just didn't think I could do it. And so what tapping and Brene Brown helped me figure out is, one, like my marriage isn't working. I am not happy. I don't think I can be happy, because honestly, what I also realized was that the best part of myself there was no room for her in my marriage, because there had become such a box, and it just wasn't gonna change. I didn't see it changing. And so I realized like, hey, I really like that person, and that's who I want to be. And I'm strong enough to figure out how the hell I'm going to do it.
Very cool. Very cool. And then, so you kind of sort of catapulted yourself into being a single mom. Like you took that on and you were ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always say that like the end of my marriage was a mutual thing, but first for me, this was important for me, that I did everything I could to try and save it. So when I walked away, I knew, like, I honestly felt like there was nothing else I could have done. It was over, because I had 2 kids, and I didn't want to create a situation that wasn't if the marriage could be saved, I was open to that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, like there were 2 kind of turning points in that last month, because I was in therapy, and I kept saying to my therapist, I don't know, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should stay. I don't know if I should go. And she said, you have to hang on. You're going to know when you know. Like,
wow.
You're going to know when you know. And I was like, okay. And Brene Brown says, like, you lean in, you lean into the uncertainty, just lean in, don't force it, whatever. So between the 2 of them, I was like, okay, I'm leaning in. This sucks.
Wow.
And there were 2 moments, 2 interactions that I had with my husband that were just like having water dumped on my head. And it was like, okay, this is it. We're done.
It became obvious.
It became really obvious.
No kidding. No kidding.
And I had and at that point, like, you can't unknow it. And so it was like, I have no choice but to go forward.
100%. So all the nerves that you had, as far as taking care of yourself in a way, and the responsibility of that, and your mom telling you a long time ago that somebody was going to come and save you. How did that work as far as the challenges that you had to go through as a single mom? Like,
Well, I mean, I had tapping, which was huge.
yeah.
And that helped me control my anxiety and my stress. Again, it continued to help me believe that I was able to do it. It was really hard, I'm not going to lie,
Mhm.
um, because so it was I call it the trifecta. We decided we were ending our marriage. My husband lost his job, and we were going to have to sell our house because we
Oh,
couldn't afford it. And so
wow.
the job that he ended up getting was down in Florida. And we lived in New York. And so I had to figure out what I was doing, and I didn't have. Well, I had a job, and it was supposed to become full time in the fall, so in New York. So I had to figure out what I was doing, and so I thought about moving down to Florida because I really didn't want my children to be so far away from their father. And I went down there and I looked at apartments and I had a job interview, and I was just like, no, this is not going to work for me. Like, I don't like the heat. I don't do well in the heat. I don't want to be like dependent on him for, like, I will have nothing. I will have
Mhm.
no support network. And so I decided that I was staying in the Northeast. I ended up moving to New Jersey for lots of reasons. Um, so my children had to, like, they lost their family unit, their father moved away, and they lost their house, their, like, everything. So it was a really hard time, and there was a lot of guilt, there was a lot of shame around, like, I should have been able to fix this, I can't believe what I'm doing to my children. So there was all of that. And then there was the actual act of getting a house ready to be sold, and it was a really yeah, Marianne, yes. Oh my God.
Wow.
It was a lot. Um, it was not a great market. Thank God we had a great agent, and we had just redone our kitchen. So we were one of two houses in our town to sell in our price range
Oh,
that
wow.
spring. Like, someone was looking out for us.
Wow.
Um, had to move my kids from a 4-bedroom colonial to a 2-bedroom rental apartment.
Wow.
And that was going to take our dog. So, and like, my ex-husband at some point was like, well, maybe you get rid of the dog. I'm like, I'm living in the car before I'm getting rid of the dog. You think I'm going to tell my kids that they're losing all of this and they're going to, no, absolutely.
Wow. Yeah.
So I found an apartment that took the dog. The landlord had to interview the dog. Like,
Wow.
if you want to interview him, I'll bring him. I'll bring him. It's
What
not.
kind of dog? What kind of
He's a
dog?
black lab, and
Ah.
he's the best. So I knew he interviews well. So I knew once the landlord met him, it wasn't
He
a
interviews well.
problem.
That's great. That's
So,
great.
so I had to do all of that, and then my ex came with us, and he stayed with us, like, on the living room floor for a week before he moved down to Florida to kind of help deal with it. Because we tried, we did our best to be as amicable as we could,
Mhm.
which was not always easy, but we did it. And which I am thankful for, because I know lots of people are not in that situation. And so then got my kids into school and whatever. And then when I started working, I was dealing with like a 2-hour commute each way. It was crazy. It was really crazy. Like, I don't know how I did it, but I did, because that's what you do when you're
Yeah.
a mom, especially when you're a mom. But I think, like, you do what you have to do, and you just keep telling yourself you can do it. Um,
100%.
and I got help. That's the other thing that's so important. I didn't do it on my own. And I think like so often we think I've got to do it on my own. No, you don't. You shouldn't do it on your own. I was lucky. I had family to help me. I had friends to help me. I went to a therapy group for women going through divorce. I took an online course with Brene Brown. I journaled, I tapped, I did whatever I needed to do. Self-care, that whole thing about the oxygen mask and put it on yourself first.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned that it's absolutely true. I had to take care of myself so that I could take care of my kids.
Yeah, 100%. I love that you're saying that, because a lot of times we forget that.
Yeah, and I think we all try, because again, going back to that like shame thing, like there's so much shame around I'm struggling. I'm not supposed to be struggling. I'm supposed to have this figured out. And so I'm going to just have to figure it out myself. I have to do it by myself. No, you don't. And you shouldn't. You really shouldn't. And there are resources out there regardless of your financial situation. There are free resources, even if it's a Facebook group or, like some kind of self-help, like Parents Without Partners or a divorce meetup or something. There are places that you can go to get some support and at least have other people who are going through the same thing. And so that's the other thing, is we all think that we are alone and that we're the only ones experiencing it. And our experiences are individual, but they're also universal.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think now, and more now than ever before, we're able to link up and, really come together as a community from all over because of social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it really doesn't matter what you're dealing with as a person, not even as a female, but just as a person. Yeah. If you Google that up, whatever it is, more than likely there's some sort of group that meets and that you can talk to and share your experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. So, personal development, you keep talking about tapping. Mm-hmm. So I would love to hear, what is tapping? I know it's called EFT tapping. I'd love for you to kind of explain what it is and maybe show us what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So it's called EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique, or tapping. And I'm just gonna, sorry, the sun is coming in.
It's about that time.
Yeah. Okay. And it's a little strange looking, especially the first time you see it, because it involves actually tapping on different points on your hand and your face and your torso. And so they're meridian points or acupressure points. They are the same, some of the same points that an acupuncturist would use, although there are hundreds of acupressure points in your body. So we're only hitting like 6 or 7 of them. And what it basically, the first thing it does is it relaxes your body. It calms your central nervous system, because when we are upset or anxious or scared, we go into fight, flight, or freeze. And so you can't really think straight because your body goes into survival mode. Your body thinks there's a bear in front of you, or that your life is in imminent danger. So it shuts down your thought process. It shuts down your digestion. It shuts down everything, other than being able to move your feet or to freeze, because maybe you're going to camouflage yourself. And so when we're under chronic stress, this is constantly going on in our bodies. And so it impacts our immune system, it impacts our decision-making process, and our emotions. So first and foremost, it relaxes the nervous system and calms the body. And then it also, we acknowledge the problem. And so acceptance is the first step in dealing with something. So much of the stress and anxiety that we cause ourselves is because we're resisting whatever is in front of us. I don't want to feel this feeling. I don't want to deal with cancer. I don't want to get divorced. And we spend so much time resisting, and that takes so much energy and causes us so much, stress and tears and emotion. And when we can just accept it, it doesn't make it go away, but it just allows our body and our mind to say, okay, this is what's in front of us. Like, this is what I'm dealing with. And it just your body just starts to relax from that. So we acknowledge what the problem is. We talk through all of the negative emotions. So it can sound really bad. Like, you just say whatever is on your mind. Like, I'm so angry. I hate this person. Or like, sometimes if you're talking about yourself, like, I'm such an idiot. I can't believe I did this. Like, it can be really harsh. And that's okay, because what we're doing is we're acknowledging it. Those thoughts are in your brain, and pretending that they're not there isn't really helping you. So we get it out, just process it and get it out.
Wow.
Once your body's relaxed, then we kind of reprogram your brain with more positive affirmations. But you can't do that until you've cleared the negative stuff, because it's just your body's not relaxed, and it's not really gonna help. And so you literally reprogram your thinking. And sometimes it depends what the issue is. Sometimes it can happen really quickly. Sometimes, like, people have, if you have a phobia, like, a fear of bridges, or, whatever, those can often be dealt with in one session. If it's a long-standing issue like self-confidence or self-esteem, it's going to take more time, and it's going to be a process. Like, you're going to deal with it for a while and feel like, wow, I think I'm here. And then you go on and you do whatever. And then like 6 months later, it comes up again, because it's like, the onion.
Got it.
Always peeling back layers.
Got it.
But I have this, like, I tend to be a visual person, and I'm weird. Like, I always think they're weird, but I just have this image of, like, it brings your mind and your body together. It like that, like your son, because we spend so much time in our heads trying to figure out the answer to the problem, but the answer is really in our bodies. Our body remembers everything. And so if something that you're dealing with is triggering an emotion from your childhood, or a fear, or whatever, it's in your body, and your brain can't get to it. So by really sucking your brain back into your body, you connect the two, and they start to work together instead of working against each other.
Wow. Wow. Very, very cool.
It is really cool. It's so cool.
Can you show us an example?
Yeah, absolutely.
First, I have a question though. So, before you show me an example, you talked about to first kind of talk about or think about the negative thing. Mm-hmm. How does the flow go? Like, how are we actually supposed to do it?
So you start on the side of your hand, and that's called a setup statement. And so you tap on the side of your hand, and so let's just say, it's like, even though I'm struggling right now and I feel like I should be doing better at this, I choose to love and accept myself. And so it's accepting the problem and then accepting yourself. And so for a lot of people, depending on where you are, like, to say the words, I love and accept myself, like, some people, they can't do it, or they like choke on it, or they start crying. That's okay. It's all good. Wow. And if you can't do it, I would say, like, you're going to keep working toward it, but, like, at least, can you accept yourself? If you can't love yourself, can you accept yourself?
Wow.
Or like, I choose to be open to loving and accept myself. Like, create it as a possibility if you feel like you're not there yet. So we do a setup statement 3 times, and then we start tapping on the points. And so it'll just be like, I'm really struggling right now. God, I can't believe I'm such a jerk. I'm such a loser. I should have this all figured out. And you just start, like, saying all the mean things that you have in your head, because they're there. We're not making them up. They're there.
Yeah.
And and just acknowledging them. And then you acknowledge them and you just like say, I'm open to letting them go. And then you tap just to let them go. And then once you feel more relaxed, then you start to tap on the more positive to reprogram your brain. And it depends on what the issue is. It depends on the individual person. Sometimes you should, like at the end of any session, you should always feel more relaxed and have at least a little bit more insight into the problem. So kind of sometimes what happens is when you're tapping, as the body relaxes, a memory will come up or a thought. So, or just an image. And then we tap on that because there's always a connection. We may not know what the connection is and we may not figure it out. It doesn't really matter because your brain knows. And so then we tap on that. And like, for example, I have a client that I work with, and we were dealing with an issue, like a lifelong issue. And she didn't really know where it came from. And she didn't know, and it was an indication of stress, but her life didn't feel very stressful at the moment. So she was really confused. So we tapped on it, and she at one point had an image of herself as a child and knew that this habit had started after the photo had been taken. And so then she was able to connect the habit to a life experience, which she had never connected the two before. So
that is so awesome.
Yeah.
That is so awesome.
It's really cool.
So can you take us through like, if it was just what you first said, like, even though I'm struggling right now, like just a basic one? Yep. I'll do it with you. Okay, great. So the first thing I would say to people is I want you to sit in your body and just feel your body. And for some people, like, this can be really hard because so often we just like move because we don't want to know what's in there, right? So just take a deep breath and feel your body. And think about something that you're struggling with right now. It can be anything. It can be something big, something small, whatever it is. Just think about that and feel it in your body. And feel where sometimes people feel it in certain areas of their body, and that may depend. Some people always feel it in the back of their neck, or their solar plexus or their heart. Sometimes it depends on what the problem is. So just kind of sit and see if you can feel it. And if you don't feel it in a specific place, that's totally fine. But just see if you can feel it. And then rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being not a problem at all, 10 being, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. Do you want me to rate it out loud? If you want. 5. Okay. All right. So 5 that's pretty good. So it's an issue, but it's not like terrible. Yeah. So, okay. So yeah, I don't want to be full out crying on the screen with you. Right? That's just like a little side tears. Okay. Right. Yeah, that's fine. And the other thing is when you're rating, like, you just, because sometimes people get caught up in maybe it's this, just go with whatever number pops into your head. Okay. So we're going to start on the, let me walk you through the points first. So the first one is the side of the hand. Sometimes people call it the karate chop point. And you're going to take 3 or 4 fingers from the opposite hand, and you can use either one, and you tap on the pinky side of your hand. So that's the side of the hand. Then we will move to the eyebrow point. The eyebrow point you can do it with one or both hands, and it's the inside end of your eyebrow, just like above the bridge of your nose, but off to one side. Yeah, right there. And then side of the eye is your temple. Under the eye is right on the edge of your cheekbone. Under the nose is kind of halfway between your nose and your upper lip. Chin, or under the mouth, is right on the indentation. Collarbone is if you take your hand and put it on your chest and feel, like with your thumb and your forefinger, you feel your collarbone.
And then you can either tap with your whole hand, or sometimes people tap with their fingertips along the collarbone. Either one is fine. Under the arm is about 3 or 4 inches below your armpit.
Like
And then
by my side boob?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly, by your side boob. I like it. And then top of your head is kind of in the middle of your head. And the thing with tapping is it's a very forgiving process. So if you miss one, if you miss a point, it's not a problem. You can do it with one hand, both hands. You can switch hands halfway through. There's no downside. So don't worry. You can't do it wrong. You cannot do it wrong. Okay, so here we go. Even though I'm really struggling right now,
even though I'm really struggling right now,
and I think I should be doing better,
and I think I should be doing better,
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
Even though life is really hard right now,
even though life is really hard right now,
and I feel like a hot mess,
and I feel like a hot mess,
and I really have to get my shit together.
I really have to get my shit together.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
Even though I have a lot of shame around this struggle,
even though I have a lot of shame around this struggle,
I feel like I'm broken.
I feel like I'm broken.
Like there's something wrong with me.
Like there's something wrong with me.
Like I should be doing it better.
Like I should be doing it better.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
Okay, eyebrow point. I am really struggling right now.
I am really struggling right now.
Side of the eye. I should be doing things better.
I should be doing things better.
Under the eye. I feel broken.
I feel broken.
Under the nose. There is something wrong with me.
There is something wrong with me.
Under the mouth. I have so much shame about this struggle.
I have so much shame about this.
Collarbone. I should be able to figure this out.
I should be able to figure this out.
Under the arm. There is something wrong with me.
There is something wrong with me.
Top of the head. I am broken.
I am broken.
Eyebrow point. I really need to get my act together.
I really need to get my act together.
Side of the eye. Why can't I do this?
Why can't I do this?
Under the eye. Other people are doing it.
Other people are doing it.
Under the nose. There must be something wrong with me.
There must be something wrong with me.
Under the mouth. God, my life is a mess.
God, my life is a mess.
Collarbone. I just don't know what to do.
I just don't know what to do.
Under the arm. I am being really hard on myself.
I am being really hard on myself.
Top of the head. I would never speak to someone the way I'm speaking to myself.
I would never speak to someone the way that I speak to myself.
Eyebrow point. Is what I'm telling myself even true?
Is what I'm telling myself even true?
Side of the eye. Yes, I am struggling.
Yes, I am struggling.
Under the eye. And yes, life is hard.
And yes, life is hard.
Under the nose. But everybody struggles sometimes.
But everyone struggles sometimes.
Under the mouth. It's part of being human.
It's part of being human.
Collarbone. I acknowledge that now.
I acknowledge that now.
Under the arm. And I acknowledge how hard this has been.
And I acknowledge how hard this has been.
Top of the head. And I am open to letting go of some of this shame.
And I am open to letting go of some of the shame.
Eyebrow point. I am open to letting go of this belief that I am broken.
I am open to letting go of this belief that I am broken.
Side of the eye. I am open to letting go of this belief that I should be further along.
I don't remember what you said because it was too long.
I am open to letting go of this belief that I am doing something wrong.
I am open to this belief that I am doing something wrong.
I'm letting go of this idea that there's something wrong with me.
I am open to this belief that there's something wrong with me.
Under the nose. I am letting go of this belief that I should have it all figured out.
I'm letting go of this belief that I should have it all figured out.
Under the mouth. I am letting this stress leave my body.
I am letting the stress leave my body.
Collarbone, I am letting the shame leave my body.
I am letting the shame leave my body.
I am allowing my body to relax.
I am allowing my body to relax.
Top of the head, I choose to relax and be present in my body.
I choose to relax and be present in my body.
Okay, stop tapping and take a deep breath. How does that feel?
I loved the journey that it was. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't like expecting it to go from down to up. Like when you're just saying all the negative stuff, I'm like, this is very negative.
Right. I know.
That was beautiful. That was, I could feel it. I sat in it and I allowed myself to sit in it. And then you slowly brought me up. That was, I love it. Absolutely. I can totally see.
And that is, and we're going to do another positive round in a minute, but that's the thing with tapping, is that it allows you to feel the feelings, but it helps you process them really quickly so that you can let them go. Now, it depends on what it is. Like, first of all, the purpose is never to not feel the feelings.
Okay.
And also, if you're dealing with grief or, depression or sad, like, it's not a magic wand, and we don't want to eliminate those feelings, because those are really important feelings. If you've lost someone that you love, or you've lost a relationship, or your marriage has ended, we want you to feel grief. Like, that's really a really important part of the healing. But tapping can help make it more manageable. It can help you move through it more quickly, and it can help you focus on the resilience and the strength without becoming overwhelmed by the emotions.
Wow, very cool.
So, okay, so we're just going to do a quick positive round. I choose to love myself.
I choose to love myself.
Side of the eye, I choose to feel compassion for myself.
I choose to feel compassion for myself.
Under the eye, I choose to see my resilience.
I choose to see my resilience.
Under the nose, I choose to see my strength.
I choose to see my strength.
Under the mouth, I choose to believe that I can get through this.
I choose to believe that I can get through this.
Collarbone, I choose to believe that I can thrive.
I choose to believe that I can thrive.
Under the arm, I am my own best friend.
I am my own best friend.
Top of the head, and I believe in myself.
And I believe in myself.
Eyebrow point, I choose healing.
I choose healing.
Side of the eye, I choose peace.
I choose peace.
Under the eye, I choose love.
I choose love.
Under the nose, I choose calm.
I choose calm.
Under the mouth, I choose grace.
I choose grace.
Collarbone, I choose ease.
I choose ease.
Under the arm, I choose to love myself no matter what.
I choose to love myself no matter what.
Top of the head, I choose to believe in myself and my resilience.
I choose to believe in myself and my resilience.
And I choose to love myself with my perfect imperfections.
And I choose to love myself with my perfect imperfections.
Okay, stop tapping.
I love it. I can totally see how somebody could lose it. I know I had a really hard time when I first left my ex. My relationship was horrible, my last one. And saying stuff like that would have literally brought me to tears. Like, I don't even think I could have said it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have cried it out loud. So I can totally see how that could really help you speak goodness into your life. Wow, very cool.
Yeah, it really, I feel like it, I always say it's not a magic bullet, but it is it's a miracle. I mean, I really feel like it's a miracle. I know it has gotten me through. I always say, like, I would be curled up in a fetal position somewhere if I didn't have tapping. I couldn't have gotten through what I've been through. I mean, because in addition to all the stuff that we talked about, I also dealt with a illness with one of my children and breast cancer at the same time.
Wow.
But yeah, and I mean, and I'm here to tell the tale. And yeah, tapping absolutely got me through. I mean, without a doubt. And I also believe that it helped me manifest my current relationship. Um, but you know, I tell my boyfriend that, he's like, okay, whatever. But
I love that.
you can't tell me that it didn't. You know, so yay,
Wow.
Marianne, did you like it? I hope you feel relaxed.
How long have you and your new partner been together?
4.5 years.
Wow, so
Yeah.
cool.
And it's like everything. I always say, like, I've been looking for him my whole life.
Oh my, how amazing. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really, and honestly, I mean, what I did was I did a lot of work. I want to like, it was not like I snapped my fingers and there he was, but
Yeah.
I, like, after my divorce, I decided that I needed time to heal and to figure out like what my role was in my marriage. And you know, so because I'm gonna make mistakes, but I'd rather not make the same mistakes again. So I took a couple of years to really heal, and I worked with a tapping practitioner one-on-one, and I did this therapy group with women, and going through divorce. And I did spent a lot of time on my own, and focused on my children. And then when I was ready to date, I started the online dating thing, which was a nightmare. But and I was really like at the point where I thought, this is just not going to work for me. And I saw Margaret Lynch is a big name in the tapping world. And so she does a lot of work with chakras, and your second chakra, I think, is your manifestation chakra. And so I watched something that she did, and then I did my own tapping on like how I wanted to feel in a relationship, and what I wanted it to be like. And I'm telling you, like, it was less than a week later that I got a message in my inbox from my boyfriend, online. And I was like, I saw his picture and I was like, huh. And I just kind of knew. I mean, I didn't know that, but there was something different about him. And
Wow.
and that was it. And we met a few weeks later, and that was it. And we've been together ever since. And I never went out with anyone else. That I like never even met anyone else online. Like I chatted or whatever, but it never got to meeting. He's the only one. And it was just like, that was it.
What? That's my fiance's story. I went on quite a few dates, but he got online, saw my profile along with other girls. He messaged a few girls, and the same thing, chatted. I'm the only one he met, and that was it. Just like one experience.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of mad though. Like I was like, no, you need to like make sure
Right.
that like this is good, because I know that I'm not good, but I don't, like
Right. No,
you gotta like check it out a little bit.
yeah.
But he had the same exact experience. That's so cool.
Yeah. It was really cool. So I am like, a total believer in the power of tapping and I just want to say, oh yeah, and that's your moving energy. You're moving energy. So it's all good. Even if it doesn't feel so good in the moment, you're moving energy, and tears are some of the most healing thing you can do for your body. Sometimes when I tap by myself, it never happens when I'm tapping with a practitioner, even. I've had many sessions where I've cried, but if I'm tapping by myself, almost every time I will have tears streaming down my face. I'm not crying, but it's just like the way that my body moves energy. So yeah. And
Wow.
people yawn, they burp, they stretch. It just depends on your body and the emotion and whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Absolutely love that. Is there any other personal development type thoughts or advice that you have that's just coming to mind right now? while we're in this moment?
I think that really one of the big lessons for me with tapping is that like you have the answers in your body. Like, and we so often we don't trust ourselves, or we're terrified because we don't want to hear what we have to say. Like, I didn't want to know that I wasn't happy in my marriage because I didn't know what to do about it.
Got it.
But the answer is there. And sometimes the answer is, I need help. So like when I say you have the answer, it doesn't mean you have to figure it all out on your own. But your body is telling you something. So listen, because it's your body knows, like, and it doesn't lie to you.
Wow.
So that I think is really important, and trust yourself and believe that you deserve to be happy.
Yeah, 100%. I know that you have a school for joy.
Yeah, well, I took it because I took since I was a teacher, that's kind of where I got the inspiration for the name, because it's kind of a different way of teaching them.
Awesome, awesome. In your opinion, though, what's the difference between joy versus happiness? Or do you have an opinion?
I think sometimes the definition that I have is different from what other people have, but like I think of joy as like the little moments that you can find in any day. And happiness is your overall kind of state of being. So yeah, like I think you can find joy in like, the days I was in the hospital, with either sitting there with my daughter or in the hospital for myself, I could still find joy. And it might be small, and I had to look for it. I mean, and it was intentional, but I could find it. I wasn't necessarily happy, but so happiness to me is a longer term kind of thing, but joy is always accessible.
Absolutely. That's interesting. I wasn't sure what I was expecting from that answer. Because they're so similar. A lot of times they're interchangeable.
Yeah. I think you have to have joy to be happy, but you can be unhappy and still have joy.
Yeah, I agree. How do you choose to show up for your world?
I try to be my best self every day if I can, and some days I do a much better job than others. I try to be present. I try to be compassionate. I try not to judge. Again, some days much better at it than others. I start my day with, almost every day. I mean, there are days that I don't, but like with tapping and meditation, because I know that makes me a better person. So I do it almost every day. And it may only be 5 or 10 minutes, but, I do. So that I think really helps me be my best self. And I try to like be open to criticism, or not, like I try to reflect on my own actions and think about, like, did I do the right thing? Do I need to apologize? Especially with my kids, because I have teenagers, so it's hard. Like nothing I do is right. And so it's easy for me to be like, they're never going to be happy. But there are times where, no, they're actually right. Like what I said was probably not necessary, or I could have said it differently. So I try to apologize and to just be honest and say, yeah, I screwed up.
Absolutely. Very cool. What are you most proud of?
I think
up to this point.
I think I'm proud of like the life that I've created for me and my kids. And I think it's not perfect, but I think it's pretty good. And I'm just, I'm just trying to enjoy it.
It's great. Do you have any plans going into the next 2 years, 5 years? You got any long-term plans?
Yeah, I definitely want to build my business, and I really feel passionately about helping other women. I mean, helping people in general, but definitely women um, become their best selves and find joy. So that's definitely, a big part of my vision for the future. Getting my kids through college
Oh my, yeah.
is a big one. And then, yeah, figuring out, I think figuring out where I want to be and geographically, because I don't think it's where I am right now. So
That's interesting. Where are you thinking?
I don't know. That's the problem.
Really? You got to tap on that, girl.
No, I know. I do. I do.
That's
What I really
great.
want is I really want to be have a house up here and then a house somewhere warm for the winter. So, working on that plan.
100%. We're the opposite. We're down in Florida, so we're like, we need somewhere a little cooler during the summer.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. I don't complain about it though, because both of us are originally from the Midwest. So we got the cold, cold, cold winters. So we're fine. We're not complaining. We're very grateful. However, it's a
Right.
little hot.
Yeah.
It's a little hot during the summer.
Yeah.
What would you say to a woman right now who's listening, who's struggling emotionally and mentally? What words do you have for her?
I would say be kind to yourself. Because I think that we can be our own worst enemies sometimes. And we think we should be doing better than we are. We think that we're the only ones that are struggling, and we're not. And you have to be your own best friend. You really do. And you've got to believe in yourself. And the other thing is, you are stronger than you think. You're absolutely stronger than you think.
I agree with that. You got to dig in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes we're so used to kind of living on the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And if you're struggling, I feel you. It's really hard, and acknowledge that. And acknowledge everything that you're doing to move yourself forward. Even if you don't feel like you're doing anything, even if you're just getting through the day, you're moving forward. And there's a quote. It's something like, sometimes courage is, and I'm going to botch the quote, but something like, sometimes courage is getting up again tomorrow to try again, or something along those lines. But so
Totally.
we all have those days or those weeks or those months where we're kind of just done, and we're, getting through the day is all we can do.
Yeah.
That's okay. The days are gonna get better. And just be proud of yourself that you got through the day.
Yeah. 100%. Definitely. So this was awesome. I totally appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge with us. If a woman, comes across this video, listens now or in the replay, where can they find you? Where can someone, is it Facebook, Insta? Do you have a website? Where is the best place for them to find you?
All of the above.
Okay.
So my website is schoolforjoy.com. I am on Instagram and Facebook at School for Joy. And I have a very small YouTube channel at School for Joy also, and it has more tapping sequences that you can, around a variety of topics that you can go through. And I'm working on expanding that. I don't love what I have there. I mean, what I have there is fine, but I'm trying to figure out a better way to do it. So, but try that. And and I would love for you to join my mailing list or follow me on Instagram or Facebook.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is all of your social media on your website here?
It is. Yes.
Okay, cool. So if you just go to schoolforjoy.com,
yeah, you should.
Has,
you should
for Facebook, Insta, or wherever you predominantly find yourself on social media, you can follow her there. And then I will also, as I put these videos on YouTube for us, I'll be putting your links in the description too. So if you're watching this on YouTube, if you scroll down to the description, her information will be there. You can just click easily to find Christine's info. And that's the word. This was awesome. This was awesome. Do you have any closing words before I close out?
I guess one more thought is just when you're in struggle, question your thoughts, because so often what we believe to be fact is really just a thought. So like the thought of I'm broken, even the thought I'm struggling, those are just thoughts. You know,
Wow.
a fact is the rent is due on the 1st. I have, $3,000 in my bank account. Those are your thoughts. Those are your facts. And then the way you think about them is your choice.
Yes. Absolutely. Good closing thoughts. That is a good add-on. That was a good add-on. All right. Well, if you have exhausted your platform here, I'm going to close out.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us here on Her Version. If you have an amazing story to share of struggle to triumph, be sure to reach out to me here or at herversion.life. I am your host, Brene Victoria, and I am so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Have an amazing day. Much love.